This is a new day. This is a new day full of sound and light and expectation. This day has been waiting for you. This day has been waiting especially for you, to embrace you, to guide you. This day has been waiting with open arms just for you. This is the day we have been given. Let's not waste it. Come now and let us worship together. Welcome, long time no see for some of you. I'm Reverend Joseph Boyd, and it is my pleasure to be with you live here streaming in one of the greatest cities in the world, Youngstown, Ohio, here at 1105 Elm Street on the north side. I am really glad to be back. It feels like the right timing. I feel like I need that reminder about what it means to live a good life, especially during these times. A community that can hold you close, a community like yourself that sharpens the conscience and points us the way toward love and justice. A community that holds us when we're afraid, uncertain, and doubtful. A community that is here for us, virtually, in person, locally, and across the globe. So I want to take this time to welcome all of you, all our members and friends in Mahoning County, Trumbull County, all our members and friends in PA, all the way out in farm country in Columbiana County. I want to welcome all of you who are joining us and are just as much a part of us from coast to coast in the United States, from California to New York City, and all the important stuff in the middle, Iowa, down south in South Carolina. I want to welcome all our international friends that are either viewing us now live or perhaps will view us later on YouTube, or who are discovering us on Facebook. I welcome all of you in the Middle East, all of you in Africa, Australia, every continent on this globe, throughout space and time. Welcome into this sacred space. So in the United States, there has been a new guideline from the CDC, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, that given the Delta variant, they're recommending that everyone who is indoors mask, regardless of vaccination status. So effective actually Friday, that has been the guideline of our church. We are following the CDC guidelines. If you happen to be indoors for anything, but especially if you are indoors for a church event with other people, regardless of vaccination status, please mask up. We are now working on a reopening policy for September, like we talked about, and we are going to be following the CDC guidelines to do that safely and appropriately. So stay tuned for that. We have a worship associate meeting this Sunday, or Wednesday, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. As you probably see and have seen, it's not just me who leads worship here. In fact, while I was away, all worship services were led by members of our congregation. And this coming Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we're going to engage the theme, Engaging Possibility. Embracing possibility. I always want to engage everything. And it's very important that we engage embracing possibility in this time of seeming limitation. What does it mean for us individually and as a community to embrace possibility? It's open to everyone who wants to come and brainstorm with us and play some role in crafting worship for September, even if it's just an idea. Please join me on the Zoom channel. It's going to be completely on Zoom, 7 p.m. Eastern Time this coming Wednesday. I want to thank all of you who helped with the wonderful happy hour we had yesterday on our patio. We are very fortunate to have a very large campus at our church. And yesterday we had a wonderful gathering outdoors. We thought we might get some thunder and rain, but it held off for a good while. And we were able to enjoy each other's company, and it was a lot of fun. Thank you all who were involved, Jean Pasateri, Linda Moan, everyone who helped bring in chairs, tables, and all of you who, without exception, followed safety protocols and were respectful of one another and had a great time. So thank you all for being part of that. I'd like to invite you, if you happen to live in the Youngstown area, today at 1:30 p.m., there's going to be a walk called Stop the Violence. It's an interfaith and no faith prayer walk for those who just want to get together in the community and walk for peace and a ceasing fire, a stopping of violence in our community. That's going to be at 1:30 p.m. today at Bethel Church of God in Christ at 3147 Glenwood Avenue. That's going to be down in the chat box for your reference. I'm going to be there. Please come if you're able, if you're in the Youngstown area. Again, follow proper safety protocols. Keep a good distance between yourself and other people. That's going to be very possible, I think. We're just going to walk around a couple blocks and just be in solidarity. So join me, 1:30 p.m., and we're going to walk only for a half hour. If you cannot walk but still want to come, you can just come to the parking lot, and there's going to be a group of people there who are unable to walk but want to send good intentions for our community. So you're welcome to do that as well. And finally, I would like to introduce with great excitement our new Director of Religious Education, Kathleen Hogue. And for those who may not have seen her excellent bio in our weekly update, I just want to highlight a couple things. So she lives with her son Jimmy in Warren, Ohio, and they have a dog, Fiesta, and two cats, Munchie and Stormy. She is a fisherman, and she loves to swim. And together with her son, they like to bowl and watch Jeopardy. And there were a couple paragraphs in her introduction that I thought were just really beautiful and really important to share with you all. So I just want to read that. She says, Unitarian Universalism in this work is truly my life. Through more than 20 years of experience with Unitarian Universalism, with congregations in Tucson, Arizona, Santa Barbara and Santa Monica, California, and in Pennsylvania, I've developed a commitment and a passion for nurturing Unitarian Universalism and their liberal religious values, identity, and spiritual growth within the congregation. For several years, I have been in the role of Director of Lifespan Religious Education, including implementing Our Whole Lives for all ages, a sex ed program, and small group ministry programs. My passion in this work are working with young children to build a strong foundation for this faith that will be carried on throughout the lives of our children, advocating and working for racial justice, multiculturalism, and acceptance, and working with youth who are becoming. For me, she says, youth ministry is especially important since it is the final journey on the road between childhood and adulthood. My vision is that we can create strong leaders from the youth in our congregation who have a solid foundation in our beliefs and a passion for their heritage. And to say some words herself, I would like to go directly to our new Director of Religious Education, Kathleen Hogue.
Thank you so much. I am so excited that you invited me to be part of your community. I really, really do love the work that I do. I just want to let you know that, here I am virtually, but I will probably also be virtual for the next couple of months due to a medical condition where my doctors have not decided yet if the vaccine is safe for me to get. So they're still kind of up in the air on that, and I will just keep you posted. But we can still do some good things together, and that is, of course, going to require some help from all you wonderful volunteers that I've heard so many good things about. So you can let me know if you want to be interested in volunteering. We're also going to keep our programming virtual for our children because as of yet, the CDC has not allowed children to gather together yet unmasked. And so we want to keep our kids safe and follow the CDC guidelines. And so we're going to be having some new virtual programming for our children that they can access at any time and some gatherings together. So if you want to come and talk to me about religious education or just to get to know me a little better, ask me some questions, maybe let me find out a little bit about you. I'll be on after the service. Just stay in the main room. So now it's time for our story. Hi, I'm Kathleen, and I brought you our story for all ages and our new Wonder Box. And we call it the Wonder Box because we always wonder what's in the box. Now you're going to have to watch this closely because it might be really fast. Come on, buddy. Come on. Come on, you can get out. Come on. There we go. Do you wonder why I brought a cute little bunny for our story today? This little bunny was dug up from its nest at 5 days old. It required bottle feeding and other care for its survival until it can be returned to the wild. It is a lot of work taking care of him, a work that I think of as service. Like many UU congregations, service is mentioned in our covenant. Ours says, love is the spirit of this church and service is its law. Buddhism teaches us that when we have compassion for others, we stop thinking of only ourselves and turn our attention to the problems of others and how they might be in even worse situations than ours. It's difficult to be happy when others are sad. It's difficult to be happy when others are hurting. I believe that serving others can be a spiritual practice. And why is it important to have a spiritual practice? Well, spiritual practice provides clarity in the midst of our busy lives. It helps us to focus on our tasks. It improves our mood. And it creates a sense of grounding in a world filled with anxiety. Now, I use this example of saving and caring for a baby bunny after my dog dug up its nest. You might meet Fifi sometime. But you can provide service in many ways. You can help out at church. May I suggest the religious education program? You could help with homelessness, help the hungry, work on environmental or racial justice issues. There are so many things you could do, and you can pick more than one. But just remember, things may be tough, things may be sad and even scary for you. But out there somewhere, there may be some bunny that has it worse than you do. So help somebody today.
Good morning. As we prepare to face the fourth wave, many of us might consider the action of serving with grace to be too compromising, perhaps even next to impossible. Some of us may feel that we are all out of grace. We have all faced varying degrees of grief and loss. We have been patient. We have been kind. We have tried to be as understanding as we can. But as the world continues to burn, quite literally in some places, while such a significant segment of our population doubles down on ignorance, how can we continue to be of service? How can we even think of serving with grace? As a member of UUYO for a few years now, I would say that following our covenant within our church has been mostly a path of ease. Our dedicated leadership and loving congregation actively support each member's spiritual growth. During my time as a new member, I've experienced a personal transformation unlike any I've experienced in my lifetime. While my transformation has been years in the making and a result of multiple variables, being an active part of this spiritual community that is invested in the growth of the individual and the collective has made all the difference. Continuing to be an active member of this community is one way I will face the challenges ahead. Another way I will face the coming challenges with grace is to follow the advice that flight attendants give as they run through the safety speech. You may have heard it before. If the cabin pressure changes suddenly during the flight, oxygen masks will automatically drop from the compartment above your seat. If this happens, pull one of the masks down to your face and cover your nose and mouth. Slip the elastic band around your head and tighten by pulling the loose ends at each side of the mask. Then just breathe normally. Oxygen will be flowing to the mask, so don't worry if the bag doesn't inflate. And here, everyone, is the key. Be sure to put your mask on before helping others. Every day, no excuses. As a single parent, I know how easy it can be to forget this simple rule, but I also know how crucial it is to remember it. Fundamentally, we must be caring and gracious with ourselves. To me, this is one of the most necessary and sacred of all acts. As we light this chalice, may we aspire to move forward through the coming changes and uncertainties with grace. And let us remember to engage with the communities that sustain us. Let us remember to put on our oxygen mask first. And let us remember the wise words of Pema Chodron. We don't set out to save the world. We set out to wonder how people are doing and to reflect on how our actions affect other people's hearts.
Please join me in reading our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Each month, we donate all loose cash and unmarked checks put in the offering plate to a nonprofit organization whose mission and actions are consistent with the UU principles and the mission of the UUYO. Our recipient for August is Black Boys Read. Black Boys Read is the online home, Black Boys Read Ohio is the online home of Black Boys Read, an initiative started in February 2021 by Reverend Todd Johnson from the Second Baptist Church of Warren. to encourage literacy and reading comprehension in Black boys ages 6 through 12. Reverend Johnson hosts weekly read-along Zoom meetings where he reads and/or encourages participants to read books aloud. BBRO also hosts special reading events in various locations, and guest readers participate. In May, the book, Mama, Did You Hear the News?, was featured. It is a powerful and timely book about a young Black boy's view of law enforcement, and Warren City Police Chief Jeff Cole was a special guest. In June, the featured book was The Buffalo Soldiers and the American West, and the guest reader was retired Army Major Tim Ramey. The event was held at the Trumbull County Veterans Memorial in downtown Warren. Every eligible participant for Black Boys Read Ohio receives a shirt after attending 3 sessions and a book for monthly read-alongs. We will now receive the offering that supports the life of Youngstown, the Mahoning Valley, and our wider world.
Please join me in a time of meditation. I love meditation. My favorite kind is silent. So what I love about it is you can do it in any posture you're in, any human posture. If you're sitting, you can just sit and just notice your breathing. If you're walking and in motion, just notice the feeling of your body as you go about your tasks. If you're multitasking, just notice that you're multitasking. If you're lying down, that's perfectly fine. Just lie down and notice how your body feels and how your breathing is. And we're going to do this together as a community.
A reading, a poem entitled 4-Day in the Morning, from the Pulitzer Prize-winning collection of poetry, The Tradition by Jericho Brown. 4-Day in the Morning. My mother grew morning glories that spilled onto the walkway toward her porch because she was a woman with land who showed as much by giving it color. She told me I could have whatever I worked for. That means she was an American. But she'd say it was because she believed in God. I am ashamed of America and confounded by God. I thank God for my citizenship in spite of the timer set on my life to write these words. I love my mother. I love Black women who plant flowers as sheepish as their sons. By the time the blooms unfurl themselves for a few hours of light, the women who tend them are already at work. Blue. I'll never know who started the lie that we are lazy. But I'd love to wake that bastard up at 4-Day in the morning, toss him in a truck, and drive him under God past every bus stop in America to see all those Black folk waiting to go to work for whatever they want. A house, a boy to keep the lawn cut, some color in the yard. My God, we leave things green.
I have 3 stories to share with you. They're really short, but they've taught me a lot about change. We have a groundhog that digs underneath our shed, and we call him Bobby. Jennifer Daly will set out a bounty for Bobby to enjoy right outside the hole that he dug only a month ago. She sets out vegetable scraps, fruit, whatever we have in the kitchen that she thinks a groundhog might like that will be safe, she puts out. We've learned in about a month's time that Bobby likes fruit, but he doesn't like vegetables. We'll come look outside Bobby's hole in the afternoon and see all the vegetable scraps left and all the fruit, including the stems and the leaves, all gone. Some people I know say groundhogs are a nuisance. But Bobby is someone that we love to see. And we try not to scare Bobby too much as we walk on by. In that same area outside our house, Jennifer and I were walking, and there was a 3-inch caterpillar crossing the street. A beautiful, light green with a black stripe right down the middle. The caterpillar was crawling very slowly across a very busy street where cars will often speed without thinking about it. I thought nothing of this at the time and continued walking right by the caterpillar, off to my next appointment. Jennifer stopped and looked at me like I was completely clueless for just walking on by. She said, "This caterpillar is going to get squished by a car." She went to the side of the street and she grabbed a leaf so that she could grab the caterpillar and put the caterpillar on the side of the road, because she said caterpillars can bite, something that I was skeptical about, but I don't know much about caterpillars, so I assume she was right. She reaches down with a leaf to try to pick up this caterpillar, and just as soon as she applies pressure on the caterpillar's body, the caterpillar begins to flail all over the place, as if a predator is trying to come and scare it. Jennifer screams, "Ah!" jumps back. And I think, well, that's the end of that. We tried. And I begin walking back to the house, off to my next appointment. But I turn around, and I see something I did not plan to expect, something I didn't expect to see. Jennifer is following this caterpillar, and the caterpillar is moving very quickly across the street, as if the caterpillar is being pursued by a predator. Jennifer just kept walking behind this caterpillar as the caterpillar is trying to get away as quickly as possible, until the caterpillar was able to cross to the other side of the street, where it might be safe, at least for a little while. The third story, which takes place in the exact same area. Jennifer and I are going for a walk to Kravitz at Fellows Riverside Garden to get some coffee. We walk, and just as we begin to turn the block, a man not wearing a shirt comes up directly to us and says, "Don't go down that way. A man has just shot 2 people, and he hasn't been caught. He's in this area, and he's armed. So you probably don't want to walk that direction." I peer ahead, and I do see a SUV with police lights on top, and the SUV has created a blockade on the street. And I see 2 police officers come out of the SUV with German Shepherds, who I'm guessing are going to assist with the search. So we turn around, we walk back to our house. As we walked maybe 20 feet, I hear another man's voice behind me, a different voice, scream, "Hey!" I reflexively look back, and I say, "Yeah?" I see it now. It's a young man, it's a couple, and they're standing outside their house. It's a couple I've never met before. And the young man says, "You live on that last house on the block, don't you?" I said, "Yes. Yeah, we do." He said, "Be careful. I just heard on the police scanner there's been a shooting. A man is armed and on the loose, and he's supposed to be right on the same street where your house is, right at the end." Whoa. So we walk back, being aware of our environment. I have my car keys in my pocket. And I tell Jennifer, this might sound kind of unbelievable, but some of you might be able to relate. I still wanted coffee after all of this. And so I said, I have the car keys. Once we get close to the car, I'll unlock it. Why don't we quickly get in? And then we can just drive off to somewhere safer, like the north side, for the time being. So we go gently to the car, aware of our environment, kind of looking around. I unlock the car, I think, a little too soon. And Jennifer gets a little scared, and she starts to say, we need to get in the car. We need to get in the car. We get in the car. We pull out. And we drive off to Prest to go get our coffee. The reason why I share these stories with you is that all of this happened in the exact same place, all in the same area. A happy, well-fed groundhog, a caterpillar with a protector, even though the caterpillar thought it might have been a predator, and a shooter on the loose, and neighbors who are looking out for each other. I don't need to say the obvious. We live in scary and unpredictable times. Life is precarious in the best of circumstances. That sense of precariousness has been heightened by a global pandemic, new variants, and always the threat of violence. Whether it's a violence inside our bodies with a pathogen or a virus, or a violence in our environment, something that we can't account for. How are we to live in this scary and precarious situation that seems to be relentless and without a clear and definite end? I find for myself during this time that I can get easily worked up and anxious when I think I can predict the future, or even when I attempt to predict the future based on what's happening in the moment. I make up patterns in my head based on data I understand on a very surface level, and I can't help but wonder what this year will hold for all of us. It's easy, way too easy, in fact, to despair when we are faced with a circumstance which we don't have full control over, and we are reminded on a daily basis we don't have control. It's easy to get dispirited when the future seems so unknown and can go so many different ways. But you all have helped me and continue to help me to live with purpose during this time. I still have my fears, and I still sometimes try to predict the future, but you all remind me that there is another choice available to us in this moment. In fact, there is a choice available to us in each and every single moment. It's a choice that is ours right now, today. We can move beyond merely being concerned with our own thoughts and fears, and we can sense where we are at this moment. We can allow ourselves to take in our environment, the places we live, the places we work, the neighbors that we live next to, the animals and wildlife that cohabit this planet with us. And we get the choice, always, in every moment, to look out for each other, to be each other's guardians. We get to literally travel this day in each other's company. And we get the opportunity to look out for each other's safety and well-being. We get to notice not just what is threatening our life, but what is saving our life, moment by moment, even if we're not aware of it. Many people mistakenly think that ministry is selfless, that it's some kind of rare and noble thing. It is noble, I think, but ministry is just as much for the one who is serving as it is for the one who is being served. In fact, I would go as far to say that there actually is no person who is the server. Life is the server. And life is embodying itself in each and every single one of us. And when we actually see this, when we look outside of ourselves, we actually see a clearer picture of who we actually are. And that realization is a profound relief. We are not prisoners of our own worst fears, our attempted predictions for the future. We are not prisoners to our greatest worries. We are set free when we see how we can benefit those in our immediate environment. And that freedom that we experience is worth more than any monetary amount in this world. So I always tell people, ministry is not selfless. I'm interested in living with more freedom, and ministry is the key. Now, please don't let the word ministry be a stumbling block for you. I don't mean anything churchy, for lack of a better word. Another word for ministry is generosity. A generosity, sharing ourselves with those in our immediate circumstances, and paying attention to what we might do to be of benefit. So you might notice that a lot of people, perhaps yourself included, in your immediate environment, in your workplace, in your neighborhood, are feeling kind of down lately. I've noticed that. They might be feeling tired, exhausted, angry, even hopeless. Despair is the inability to see possibilities in your immediate circumstances. So how can we help each other? Much of the time, the answer to that question is, I don't know. I've found through experience that that is almost always the best place to start. It might feel good to think that we know what others need, but the truth is, we rarely do, even when we think we do. Not knowing can make us curious, and it can make us better listeners. I don't mean just listening with our ears, which can be very unreliable, but listening with our whole selves, listening to our environment, feeling the breath in our body, noticing where we are and what and who is around us. We tune into ourselves and we tune into those around us. And eventually, sometimes quickly, sometimes it takes a while, we notice something we can offer that might be of benefit to someone. Sometimes that person that will benefit directly is ourselves. We take a hot shower. We make a nice meal. Or if you're like me, you order a nice meal and do takeout. You notice the sun warming your skin. And out of the corner of your senses, you might notice a groundhog who would appreciate a snack, a caterpillar who needs a guardian, a couple of oblivious neighbors who are walking straight into danger unaware. We get the opportunity to be of service if we open ourselves up to that possibility. When we hear the term serving with grace, we might think service is for other people, serving people who are outside of ourselves. But this is never the truth. We do it for ourselves. Not because it always feels good or because people are always grateful for it. That happens sometimes, and that's very nice. But that's not the reason we serve. Serving with grace is realizing that every moment is grace. We are here due to efforts that go way beyond ourselves. It's a grace to be with you this morning. It's a grace to be able to drink water and eat food and communicate and even have some of what I'm sharing be something that resonates with somebody out there, maybe somebody that I don't even know. Every moment we're alive is a moment of grace. Service awakens this feeling, and regular service reminds us of this grace. We feel this grace through service with greater and greater depth, and our sense of gratitude begins to grow. Do you know what my definition of happiness is? It's the one I came up with this week. It changes, but this week, here's my definition of happiness. When our gratitude outweighs our fear. When our gratitude outweighs our fear. When we get to the point that our gratitude outweighs our fear, grace is the most obvious thing in the world. I feel grateful for our church community during this time, and I'm grateful for all of you who are watching and offering your presence to this world and this community. You teach me how to live, or more accurately, how I want to live. I want my gratitude to outweigh my fear. I want to live a life of service. I want to experience grace for myself any moment that I can. In closing, I just want to emphasize that this is an everyday, normal experience. This is not esoteric. You don't need to be a churchgoer to experience this. You don't need to belong to a specific denomination or believe in a specific creed. It is only about seeing how you might benefit those in your immediate environment. That's it. It's living with enough awareness that you strive to minimize harm for yourself and those around you. It's living a life that respects and comforts those who are afraid, but who strives to never let fear have the final word. Fear is helpful and should be respected. Fear can guide us to make some smart and healthy choices when that fear is balanced. But fear is not the answer to this moment we're in completely on its own. Gratitude is. Gratitude not for what we want, but gratitude for what we have in this moment. This morning, we get a choice to bring some color to this day. It might seem small and insignificant, but that's never our place to judge. We offer what we can from the circumstances that we're in. We share ourselves with our children. We share ourselves freely with our family and our loved ones. We share ourselves with our neighbors, with our fellow congregants from across the globe. We share ourselves completely. We share ourselves with those who think like us and those who don't. We share ourselves with this world. We do what we can to minimize harm, and we open ourselves to the grace of change. The grace of change is a reminder of how things actually are, not how we imagine them to be. We may imagine that we are at the center of a changing landscape, the center of changing circumstances, but we are not the center. We are part of it, and we are changing too. We are changed and changing our circumstances in ways that are both subtle and profound. This change is not completely up to chance. We do get some choice of how we might change, or at the very least, we get the choice to have an intention of some direction we wish to go, even if that journey is sometimes rocky and unpredictable. We can choose today to recognize the grace that we're alive. We get to choose to see that we are alive with creatures both small and greater than ourselves who could use a little of our attention, a little of our care, and a reminder that their life is also an embodiment of grace. Please pray with me. Spirit of love, so grateful to be alive on this day. So grateful to be part of this loving and fun community. Please guide us to see what is available to us on this day. And please use us for the benefit of ourselves and all creatures, both small and great. All this we pray. Amen. Now we'll go to Lindsay to extinguish the chalice.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts until we meet again.
As you depart, please remember the one great fact. You are loved and never truly alone. For those who want to